Global warming, fear-mongering is leading to more eco-anxiety. A new survey finds 70% of Americans experience climate change fear and depression. And in Canada, a country, Dana, doctors for the first time diagnosing an elderly woman with breathing issues as suffering from, quote, climate change. So climate change is now a prognosis. Could we get a vaccine?
Oh, gosh, if there was only one. I remember my friend had their kid gone to school and came back, and he was crying in bed as they were reading the book. Like, what's wrong? He's like, my bed is made out of trees. And he was like crying, and it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. At some point, well, actually, let me back up. When I was in Denver, I talked to this guy who said that as he talks about climate change, he talks about adaptation. And he said that is now considered like a terrible word. You can't say adaptation because how dare you use some of this infrastructure money to, what do? You make them taller? The flood walls, around cities. Like, why not do some big projects that actually will mitigate the problem? And instead, all we're doing is saying we have to shut down and have zero emissions, which is just completely irrational.
Yeah, and it's freaking kids out. I mean, no wonder there's depression and stuff if you're telling them we're going to die, and then you move the date. You say you're going to die in 8 years, and then not so fast it's 12, and you've already sold everything. Like, what if you sold all your stuff because you thought you were going to die in 2028, and then they go, it's 2038? Have you thought about that?
No. Call me old-fashioned. I'm more sympathetic to actual anxiety, people nervous about getting drafted for paying their rent, or what you suffer from, performance anxiety. If you ever want to talk more about it, we can talk about it. I know it's been debilitating, Gutfeld. But in all seriousness, this is by design, this anxiety. They want this generation scared because you control people through fear. If you say you're all going to die really soon and it's all your fault and all you have to do is give me all your money and I'll tell you where to eat, how to live, what to drive, that's why it's designed that way, for control.
Harold, you know, the activist class is doing with climate what I think they expect to do with race. It's kind of like get them when they're young, get the idea, inject them with fear and guilt. Am I right? Inject them with fear and guilt.
It's a lot there. Look, we have a lot of people trying to come from our hemisphere into this country because their countries have been wrecked by a lot of things, including weather patterns, awful weather over the last few years. Climate change probably has something to do with that. I don't suffer from climate anxiety, and I pray for those who do, and I hope they get better. But I do think we need to figure out climate change. This is not the way to go about doing it if we want to be effective about trying to win over advocates here.
What do you think, Katie?
I think this is a bunch of city kids who need to get out more for two reasons. When you're out in the wilderness, you realize that you're humbled and that, you know, you can be an environmentalist, you can be a conservationist, but you really can't control the environment. And you'll find things like fossils at the top of the Grand Canyon and realize that Arizona used to be under an ocean and realize that climate change is actually pretty normal for the Earth.
There you go. All right.
Problem solved.
Yeah. You go to the wilderness, you just see beds. Oh, this could be a great bed.
Could be a great bed. I'm going to make a bed.